So we're here at Adobe Summit 2025. I don't know how many summits this is for you, but it's over 10 for me. We're in beautiful Las Vegas. So introduce yourself.
I'm Greg Ng. I'm the CEO of Blazer. We're a consulting firm, works with organizations that, in this case, implement Adobe technology and really struggle with people and process to actually maximize value with their tools.
All right, that's awesome. And I'm Greg Boone, CEO or incoming CEO of WalkWest. And I've known Greg here for, I don't know, at this point, maybe 15 years almost.
Yeah, 15.
Right. It's been a long time. But so we live a mile away from each other.
We do.
We have two companies that are both based in Raleigh, but it took us flying all the way to Las Vegas to finally get together and talk. So again, first tell me a little bit about your experience as it relates to Adobe Summit. What's changed? What do you see different?
Yeah.
What do you like? What do you don't like?
Yeah, I mean, this is my 11th summit. The big change, obviously, from the beginning was it used to be in Salt Lake City.
Right.
Now it's here in Vegas. So there's pros and cons to both of those things. But yeah, look, the transition has been slow and then super fast, right? And so in the beginning, it was like, okay, how do we just develop these tools and get a better understanding of how to wrangle your data and really understand how to make sense of that?
Right.
But now it's about how do we put the power back in marketing teams to create campaigns, to market in more personalized ways. And this is where we work with a lot of clients, how do you then create attribution so we can justify all of these investments? And that's just not just technology, it's people too.
Right. So, all right, before we get into the people side of it,
Yeah.
what is it about the technology that finally enables this great unlock?
Yeah. So, well, first of all, if we're really like mincing words here, the technology has been here for a long, long time. What hasn't been here is the end user, the customer, their acceptability of being marketed in personalized ways. That's the part that's made the transition, right? And so Adobe and other organizations have had this technology. We've been able to more tightly, more closely segment and deliver experiences before. But even as, recent as 3 years ago, people were like, whoa, I know you know all the right about me. Don't throw it back in my face and it makes me feel creeped out, right?
Yeah.
But that's shifted. That's shifted over time. And so that's really the big change. And I think Adobe's doing a great job of like leaning into that and saying, okay, now that it's more acceptable, how do you supercharge that? How do you sprint, right? And that's, those are the challenges, right?
Yeah. And I think about this in the age of AI, right, in particular. And I say the exact same thing, right? AI, machine learning, a lot of this stuff has been around for a long time.
Yeah.
Right. But it wasn't until ChatGPT was launched that it became this societal thing, right? And to your point, it created this acceptance. I always tell folks, Gen AI gave air cover for all of these big executives to finally say, hey, we got this secret weapon from an AI perspective.
Yeah.
We can do all of these things, right? Because we've been talking about personalization at scale for years.
Yeah.
Right. Now we actually have the tool set. So, all right, there's the tool and everybody wants to talk about the tool. Everybody wants to talk about the tech.
Yeah.
What I'm not hearing a lot is how do we get more people to adopt this? I'm not talking about people that already believe in marketing technology, already believe in AI. How do we get the rank and file, the entire employee base that's in your organization that is going to be affected by Gen AI?
Yeah.
How do we get them to embrace it?
Yeah. I mean, I think what we're seeing is kind of a reckoning, if you will, because 18 months ago, 2 years ago, what was happening in boardrooms, board of directors, shareholders were saying, whoa, what is this organization doing with AI?
Right.
And it was so tech led where people were just saying, great, every department needs to integrate AI, right? But guess what? They were doing little proofs of concept and trials. Now where the rubber hits the road, people are saying, okay, now what? What did we learn? What did we do? Right? It requires full culture, people from top to bottom to truly understand how to use it and when to use it and when not to use it. Right?
Right.
That's the nuance that organizations are dealing with right this minute. And CFOs and CTOs in particular need to understand that that's the most important thing. Otherwise, they're going to make big investments in technology. They'll pick their head up and they'll say, why did we do this? Right? What's the actual value? And so it really is about the people, and you have to build that culture change.
Yeah, 100%. And so when you think about the people side, one of the things I've been trying to talk to organizations about is, all right, AI is the first technology, or Gen AI in particular, that is going to affect every single employee, not just the folks in marketing, not just the folks in IT, right? So I would argue that even outside of the marketing leaders and the tech leaders, the chief people officers,
For sure.
HR needs to really have a seat at the table.
Yeah.
Because there's a big word that people are talking about. You know a lot more about this than me, which is psychological safety.
Yeah.
Right. What does that mean in this context?
Yeah.
And what should we be thinking about from that perspective?
Yeah. So there's a couple things about psychological safety that I think roll into this. The first is let's face it. Some people require carrot and some people require stick. Okay. And there's no one size fits all. Okay. So there's that.
Right.
But the mistake that organizations make is thinking that that it's the same method for each person.
Right.
It's like, oh, you all work in the same company, so therefore we need to motivate you in the same way. Okay. So that's the first thing. So how do you actually get a adoptability or adopting behavior? You have to show and prove the value of why that is. And the big hang up is that what it inevitably comes down to is people are afraid it's going to take their job.
100%.
Right? Not that it's going to supercharge their job. And so it really requires from the top down to say, this is why we're adopting it. This is why we think there's value. And this is your role, your human role to how you're going to interact with that technology. And that's the part that is missing in a lot of organizations. The reason why I bring that up is that from a psychological safety standpoint, employees need to feel empowered
Yes.
to create ideas, give feedback, and help mold their future, their existence within the org. Right. And a lot of organizations don't have that culture. They don't have that culture of saying, you know what, I understand where you're going, but how about this? Let me contribute and help mold that culture for themselves. That's where psychological safety comes in.
Thank you for giving that background. Like,
Yeah.
you know, it is a big word, but to your point, it's how do we empower and create a safe space?
Yeah.
Right. When I constantly listen to folks talk about how to get started, how can you leverage Gen AI, everybody says the same thing. Oh, just go play around with it.
Yeah.
That sounds cool. But if you as a leadership and as an organization, don't empower them, don't give them a safe space to play around.
Yeah.
Don't tell them vocally and say, hey, it's okay. You're going to make some mistakes. It may not be perfect. Right. But if you don't create that space and that avenue for them to actually play around with it.
Yeah.
Right. And if they also don't really understand where to start. So like if you're thinking about a more broad set, like I'm really focused on helping people that are non-technical roles. Right. How can this be a greater unlock for you? To your point around productivity, right? You have to move it from, hey, this thing's going to take my job to, hey, isn't work a lot more fun now?
Yeah.
Right. And so some folks are always kind of will gravitate towards the negative in the absence of information.
Yeah.
Human nature is to go to the negative.
That's right.
Right. If we can start to tell them, and I'm trying to take like a role by role perspective.
Yeah.
Hey, you're in HR.
Yeah.
Right. The first thing I would do is ask the machine.
Yeah.
This is my role.
Yeah.
Right. What should I do in the next 24 hours? What should I do to help be better at my job?
Sure.
But it starts with leadership saying it's okay to fail. It's okay to try and explore these things, but they have to think more broadly. Right. And so, you know, I appreciate your thoughts on there. Is there anything else from a culture perspective as it relates to, you know, culture in the age of AI?
Yeah, there's a gap. There's a big gap right now. We see it in most organizations. At the top, they'll say, yeah, we're investing in AI. Yeah, AI is the future. Yes, we're doing this, and this about AI. And then it does trickle down layer by layer by layer, where it becomes eventually, whisper down the lane, a dictate.
Yeah.
We're going to do AI there. But let me kind of give some like tough love here. In a lot of cases, the person at the top is saying, yes, we're doing that. It's sort of lip service.
Right.
Like, yeah, I need to say that because it's part of my quarterly earnings call, or it's part of the vision I'm setting. It requires some real concerted effort and disciplined effort from the top down to continually reinforce why this is valuable and what is the vision for it. And then this is where psychological safety comes in, empowering their team to come up and help craft that future for them. Yeah,
That's
also
awesome.
a missing gap right there.
That is very much a missing gap. So what I would wrap this up with is leadership has to embrace it.
Yeah.
Leadership has to be consistent, right? You can't just show up every quarter and say, hey, what are we doing with AI? And then walk away.
That's right. Right. Exactly what's happening.
And that is exact. I 100% agree with you. So what I would say is, you know, and I say all the time, when it comes to AI, you can either be the voice of the victim.
That's right.
Right. You can ride the wave or you can get crushed by it.
Yeah.
And that's not just a statement for, you know, the rank and file employees. That's for leadership also.
Yeah.
If you don't have that mindset and understand that right now these people are very anxious.
Yeah.
At a minimum, you have to move them from AI anxious to AI curious.
Yeah.
Right. And that is critical, and that is on the leadership team. So I appreciate your thoughts, Mr. Ng. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Always good to see you. Thanks for joining the show.
Awesome. Thanks, Fritz.